In this devotional, I'm going to share with you three thoughts from Numbers chapter 11, verses 16 through 23, where I'll answer the question, is the Lord's hand shortened? Numbers 11, verses 16 through 23 says, Then the Lord said to Moses, Gather for me 70 men of the elders of Israel, whom you know to be the elders of the people, and officers over them, and bring them to the tent of meeting, and let them take their stand there with you. And I will come down and talk with you there, and I will take some of the Spirit that is on you and put it on them, and they shall bear the burden of the people with you, so that you may not bear it yourself alone. And say to the people, Consecrate yourselves for tomorrow, and you shall eat meat, for you have wept in the hearing of the Lord, saying, Who will give us meat to eat? For it was better for us in Egypt. Therefore the Lord will give you meat, and you shall eat. You shall not eat for just 1 day, or 2 days, or 5 days, or 10 days, or 20 days, but for a whole month, until it comes out of your nostrils and becomes loathsome to you, because you have rejected the Lord who is among you, and have wept before him, saying, Why did we come out of Egypt? But Moses said, The people among whom I am number 600,000 on foot, and you have said, I will give them meat, that they may eat for a whole month. Shall flocks and herds be slaughtered for them, and be enough for them? Or shall all the fish of the sea be gathered for them, and be enough for them? And the Lord said to Moses, Is the Lord's hand shortened? Now you shall see whether my word will come true for you or not. As Moses prepares the people of Israel to leave Sinai, he is starting to feel the weight. He's starting to feel the pressure. It's starting to really bear down on him because these people who had escaped Egypt by the mighty hand of God were now complaining incessantly about having to eat the food that the Lord is miraculously providing for them. They were just complaining. They would rather be back in slavery than continue to eat the manna that the Lord provided. And the pressure is just too much for Moses. So he asked the Lord for help. He needs the Lord's help because what he is finding out, what he is discovering, is that the people of Israel are not easily led, that they are a stiff-necked people, that they are difficult to manage, and that he probably doesn't have sufficient strength to do it on his own. With this background in mind, here are three thoughts from Numbers chapter 11, verses 16 through 23, answering the question, is the Lord's hand shortened? Thought number one, Moses' weakness. Moses doesn't feel like he's up to the task. And in fairness, I'm not sure many people would be. After all, he has to lead over 1 million people into a place that they've never been and have never even considered going. A people who had been slaves and now are suddenly free and don't really know what they're doing. Moses has to lead them, and that's a difficult task. Moses complains to God and says, It's too much for me. I won't be able to do this. I need some help because if I have to do this on my own, I'm just going to die. Moses acknowledges that he is not up to what the Lord is calling him to do. So he needs the Lord's help in order to continue on. And the Lord provides it, which is an amazing display of God's loving kindness, grace, and mercy. Thought number two, Israel's complaint. Israel's complaint is pretty simple. When we were enslaved, at least we could eat. But now that we're out here in the wilderness, now that we're out here in the desert preparing to go into the land of promise, we don't have the foods that we want to eat. And they're thinking about the fish that they used to eat, that they used to catch out of the Nile, and they're thinking about the cucumbers and the melons and all this stuff that they used to be able to eat, ignoring the fact that they were enslaved, and they're complaining. And this is Israel's complaint. I feel like my life in freedom is worse than my life of enslavement. And the Lord hears their complaint. He hears their complaint, but he is not altogether sympathetic about it. Thought number three, God's provision. And here's where we're really going to answer the question, is the Lord's hand shortened? Because that question is essentially saying, is anything too powerful, too significant, too great an obstacle for God? And the answer, of course, is no. There's nothing that is too difficult for God to accomplish. So when Moses feels like he doesn't have sufficient strength to the task to lead the people of Israel, the Lord can provide that for him. When the people of Israel feel like there's nothing good to eat, and I'm sick of all this manna, and I would rather eat something better, the Lord is going to provide it for them. And this is the provision that God is going to provide for them. He's going to give them all of this quail meat, and it's going to be more meat than they could ever eat. It's going to be so much meat that they are going to be sick of meat, that this thing that they wanted that would have been a blessing to them is going to become a curse to them because they have so much of it and are filling themselves up with it and have to eat so much. God's provision ends up being a punishment upon the people of Israel because he's giving them precisely what they wanted. He's just giving it to them in a way that they can't possibly manage. And as he does so, he demonstrates that he is sufficiently powerful to meet all the needs of the people of Israel. They just need to trust in him, trust in his plan. And we need to do the same thing. We need to trust that the Lord is sufficiently powerful, that his hand is not shortened, that he can accomplish precisely what he means to in every given circumstance. And as we do so, as we put ourselves in that mindset, we learn the lesson from Israel's failure. We learn to trust in God in all things. These three thoughts come from the assigned reading of Numbers chapters 9 through 12. If you'd like to read through the Bible with me, you can do so by subscribing to this channel, by clicking on the link in the description, or by joining the Facebook group Through the Bible, where we are reading the text of Scripture together.